Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have, as usual, a great show for you today. We have two great videos for you today. But anyhow, let's start welcoming our brothers and sisters into the house. In the chat, starting, he won again. El Señor AVQ. Michael Rudnin in from Brooklyn, New York. Number one in the house. Second in the house is the one and only Patrick Magner from Houston, Texas. We also have Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. Paul Fleming from Powder Springs, Georgia. We also have in the house Joanna from Los Angeles, California. E2247 from, well, everywhere. And in our chat, I started late I always started late, but we have in the chat, that signed into our Substack, Spice, Karen Andrews, James O'Reilly, John Hocker, WTF are the only ones. JL Leon, I think I see as well. If you have any messages, by the way, those of you that are in Substack, you want me to call out your city and state, throw it into the chat. If you want to tell me anything as the show goes on, throw it into the chat. I am, in fact, reading it so that I can, sometimes I can't get to all of them, but I read it. So throw it in the chat. Let me know where you're from. We also have in the house Adolf Twitler. I still love that name. That makes me smirk every time I hear it. Adolf Twitler says, as progressives, I like Slotkin. We are the only big tent. We can lose that by attacking moderates. I am not attempting to attack Slotkin, but I want you to understand what I'm going to say here, brother Adolf Twitler. This is what I don't get sometimes. And Adolf, respond to this. We had Slotkin, who always have a tendency, whenever progressives are out there making the case, to find some reason to diss us. In this case, AOC and Bernie are doing some important, very important work. And Americans are smart. They understand what oligarchy means. And for her to just willy-nilly go out there and say that it's not good, so all we're doing is not hitting her up, just stating the only reason one has a tendency to not like the word oligarchy is if you are, again, very much in sync with the corporatocracy. And oh my God, you don't want to have them called out, etc., etc., etc. Again, we will call them out nicely. By the way, Michelle Honorato from Michelle is in Houston, Texas. Thank you, Michelle, for being here on Substack as well. Other Substackers, register. Come on, let me know where you're from. Breach MCP is in the house. I'm so happy to see you in today, Breach. She says, Governor J.B. Pritzker was so awesome. We need more like him, lots more. And I've got some clips that you're going to love. We also have AC Rodriguez. Hello, all. AC. By the way, Breach MCP is from Binghamton, New York. Welcome aboard, Breach. Mary DeVoy just joined us as well. Para ver quién más está aquí. E2247 says, tell your U.S. and Senator through U.S. Capitol switchboard 202-224-3121. Again, that is 202-224-3121 to pressure Secretary of Defense, Joint Chief, and Air Force to comply with March 21st, 2025 FOIA request to Headquarters Air Force, AAII. All right. TNT Sky, welcome aboard on Substack. All right, let me start reading. Michael says, CBS News, Gallup poll finds that nearly 90% of Americans expect tariffs to raise prices. So they're finally realizing that tariffs raise prices. New polls from Gallup and CBS News indicate that a large swath of Americans disapprove of Mr. Trump's tariffs, a cornerstone of his economic agenda. 89% of U.S. adults find it very likely or somewhat likely that the levies will end increasing the cost of goods for American consumers. Gallup found it's downright impossible to find a poll among Americans where 9 in 10 agree on anything political, even most obvious questions. I mean, that is great to see that there are, in fact, most Americans are seeing the truth. The American people are living through Trump's tariff import tax as businesses raise prices in preparation. Also, Michael says from Rolling Stone, Trump claims he's made 200 deals in tariffs. His cabinet members can't name one. He's a liar. We always knew he was a liar. Despite the president boasting that he has reached hundreds trade agreements, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Agricultural Secretary Brooke Rollins couldn't say which countries are on board. Repeated pattern. Trump pathological lies reported repeatedly and often. Then his sycophants and bootlickers try their best to cover for him. Sad, but true. Next one, The Atlantic. I run the country and the world, says Donald Trump. No president before Trump has ever claimed to be the leader of the free world, knowing that claiming that moniker would strain our foreign policy with allies who are partners, not subordinates. We don't live under a king, despite what Trump wants himself to be. Trump has been rebuked by the world since his so-called Liberation Day, and none of them have accepted his trade policy. And you know what? China is talking about unloading quite a few more bonds. And what that will do is make our deficit goes through the roof, because as bonds get unloaded, the price of the bond falls, the interest rates rise. And then when we attempt to borrow money, we can't borrow at the 3% that the budget is financed at right now. Instead, we're going to have to finance at 4.5 to 5%. Makes no sense. Donald Trump is doing look, just from pissing off the rest of the world, he probably added $100,000 billion a year to our deficit just for doing that. Ashley Willies is on Substack. That's my beautiful, wonderful, beautiful daughter. You know, anytime I see her, I light up. You know, where is she anyway? I know she went to the gym. But anyhow, hey, sweetie, where are you? Type it in the thing so I can see where you're at. Mary Devoid says, where did he find these extra countries to make deals with? Mars? Hey, Mary Devoid, I think you hit the nail on the head. He found those countries in Mars or on Mars. In Mars, on Mars, on Mars. I think you're right about that, girl. All right. Last one from Michael. Una vez más de Miguel. Oh, Michael, you have two more. What are you trying to do? Kill me? Are you trying to kill me, Michael? All right. But you know, I love you, Michael. Mother Jones, Trump's latest deportation. For all of you that have just joined us, we have a whole bunch in Substack. Michael is like our resident fine stuff. He and Bridge MCP. So whenever they put stuff, I try to get it up. All right, Michael, but you know what? Let me see what else I got here. Ashley says, I'm at the movies using my time before my showing. All right, sweetie pie. All right, continuing. That's my baby. Anyway, Trump's latest deportation tier includes a 2-year-old and a kid with cancer. Yeah, I know. I tell you what, guys, he has one more from the ACLU. You guys read that on your own. I got to continue with some other folks. Paul Fleming is in the house from Powder Springs, Georgia. He says Jeff Bezos was very nice. He was terrific. He solved the problem very quickly. He did the right thing. Trump speak about the call with Bezos after Amazon said he scrapped the idea to display tariffs. I want to explain that to everybody. This needs explanation. Everybody got to understand this. Jeff Bezos was going to put the squeeze on Donald Trump in the following way. Whenever you buy a product, I want you to go look at your Amazon product or go look at your receipt from the store. It says the price of the product. Under the price of the product, it tells you what the sales tax is of that product. And it also tells you if there's delivery fees or whatever. All Amazon was going to do is Amazon was going to say, hey, look, when Americans buy stuff at Amazon, all of them are going to see a jump in price. And they're going to want to blame Amazon. Amazon says, so what we believe in is we believe in transparency. Yes, Ashley, Amazon going to get a lot more expensive. So Amazon said, we want to give transparency. So what was going to happen at Amazon is they were going to have the price of the product. Then they're going to have the amount of the price of the product that is based on the sales, the tariff that cost them to bring that product in, following the sales tax. And that was the right thing, because remember, Donald Trump lied to every single American and said, China is going to be paying that sales tax. China is going to be paying that tariff. We are putting a tariff on China. Again, he depends on his audience being ignorant. He depends on his audience being stupid. Okay? So he thinks he can say that. But when he's talking about making $5 billion a day in tariffs, what he's talking about is taxing all of you for that $5 billion or so that he is paying. Okay? So it's you who are paying the tariff, and that tariff goes into the coffers of the government, meaning in the treasury. And then he's going to use that money from the tariffs to give that tax cut. I want to remind you guys of something. He's telling Congress, you must have that bill ready in 27 days. What's so magical about having the bill ready? They want to make sure that when that bill goes through reconciliation, and when it goes to the budget, the OMB, they look at it and say, yes, it's not. We can use reconciliation because this bill does not bust the budget. Because if you're going to go through reconciliation, you cannot bust the budget. You cannot increase and get further deficits. So therefore, you have to pay for this tax cut if you want it to be reconciliation. Otherwise, you got to go through closure. Closure means that you have 60 votes that's needed in the Senate, not 50 plus 1. So he wants to hurry this up before he negotiates all these trade deals with the foreign countries, because while those trade deals are not negotiated, he has already affixed a 10% tariffs around the world and a 145% tariff on China. So when they're doing their calculations, that looks like money coming into the government coffers that will offset the tax cuts, that they can pass it through OMB, which will then say, yes, you can use reconciliation, bill signed. But then, after the bill is signed, he makes all these deals with these other countries to cut the tariffs from 10%, to cut the tariffs from 145%. But as far as the rest of as far as the bill is concerned, it's already gone through testing. So what it does is he blows another big hole in the budget, another humongous hole in the budget. People get smart. We have to understand what these guys are doing to us. We've got to understand it. Lee the Bearcat from Austin, Texas, welcome aboard. Maywood from Long Beach, California, welcome aboard. And Bruce Pollard from Kingwood, Texas, welcome aboard. Eric Hayes from Atascocita, welcome aboard. I think there's 193 countries in the world, according to Michael. That's about right. I think it's more than that, but Trump says he made 200 deals. I check it out. I think, remember, places like Yugoslavia broke into Slovenia. and all these other countries. So, there are a lot of countries that split. We got Sudan that broke up into two. We got Ethiopia that broke up into two, Eritrea and Ethiopia. So a lot of countries kind of split and got 2 countries or 4 countries. In the case of Yugoslavia, you got 5 or 6 other countries. So I don't quite know what the number of countries are right now. Let's see what else we got here. Joanne from Los Angeles says, Nicolas from Venice, California is here too. Peace. Nicolas from Venice, California, welcome to Politics Done Right. Love having you here. Let's see. Bridge, love you, girl. Be here. Let's see if anybody has any pictures before I do the first video. Agolf Twitler says, you oversimplify for the sake of your propaganda. Who are you talking about? Oh, you're talking about Eric. Eric, look, you have to understand Eric is a parrot. He's a friend of mine. Love Eric, but he's a parrot. He just listens to what the right wing says, and then he just spit it out. There's no critical thinking behind it. None whatsoever. So there are some people in the chat I disregard, right? I love them all, but I disregard the racists, and I also disregard the right wing. Well, completely. You understand what I'm saying. All right, folks. Candice C. from Substack says, other countries are going to find resources. They aren't going to come back to the U.S. Sister, you nailed it. We are, there's something called, in capitalism, right? There's something called demand destruction. And when you've reached the point of demand destruction, it's over. It's over when you've reached demand destruction. And that's where we're heading to. Demand destruction to products from the United States. Right? But the thing about it is we need stuff. We need the rare earths from China. But before I get to the first video, I'm going to get you guys aware of something that nobody's talking about. There is a beautiful country in Africa that is, it was a French colony. Okay. And it's called Burkina Faso, run by Traoré, who overthrew the government a couple of years ago because all these governments have been sellouts to the West. Now, what America did is got a general in the United States to come out and say, this guy is doing all these bad things in the country. Who the hell is Burkina Faso, and how comes we care about them now? Because we want their rare earths, their elements, etc. So we're going to try to find a way to assassinate the president, Traoré of Burkina Faso. We will try to assassinate him, just like we assassinated Muammar Gaddafi, because he wanted to establish the currency, the African currency, just like we eliminated. And I'm no fan of these guys. I'm no fan of Muammar Gaddafi or anything like that. But the pretext that we've used to assassinate these leaders the context is always false. I am not defending any of these guys. All these leaders, our own and theirs, they're all suspect. You don't go around the world murdering folks, and that is exactly, to some extent, what is done under our name too often. Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain, welcome aboard. Great to have you here. Let's see, before I go to the video, if I have anything else to speak about. Rebecca says, on Substack, no matter who tells the truth, every one of us are going to feel the impact, and we will know where it belongs. So that is so true. That is so true. All right, let's go to the first video. I want to tell Elissa Slotkin. This is the one that I think who gave me a hard time about. I think Twitler gave me a hard time about it, but I want to listen to this one. It's include Bernie Sanders, and we'll take it on the other side. I really couldn't believe when Kirsten Welker asked Senator Sanders whether using the oligarchy word to describe what's really occurring in today's American system, in today's American economy. And worse, we have centrist Democrat Elissa Slotkin, who said maybe we shouldn't be talking about oligarchy, etc., etc., etc. Maybe we should be using other words. To which I say, first of all, that is condescending. The inference was that somehow working class America, somehow middle class America can't understand that so very complex word called oligarchy. Well, you know what? As Ocasio-Cortez, as Bernie Sanders have been going around the country, Alexandria and Bernie has really made it quite clear what oligarchy is, and the people are living what oligarchy is. They're not stupid. And to try to dumb it down for them because it offends your corporate benefactors is really the issue. I want you to listen to Bernie, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Let me ask you about something that your colleague, Senator Elissa Slotkin, said. She said Democrats should stop using the term oligarchy because it's a phrase that doesn't resonate with all Americans. Are you missing a chance to speak to a wider audience, Senator?
Well, geez, we had 36,000 people out in Los Angeles, 34,000 people in Colorado. We had 30,000 people in Folsom, California, which is kind of a rural area. I think the American people are not quite as dumb as Ms. Slotkin thinks they are. I think they understand very well when the top 1% owns more wealth than the bottom 90%. When big money interests are able to control both political parties, they are living in an oligarchy. And these are precisely the issues that have got to be talked about. Are you living in a democracy when Mr. Musk can spend $270 million to elect Trump and then becomes the most important person in government? Or AIPAC and other super PACs have enormous power over Democratic candidates. Those are issues that we have got to talk about. That is the reality of American society today. The very rich getting richer. Working class people are struggling. 800,000 people sleeping out on the streets. If we don't address that issue, the American people will continue to turn their backs on democracy because they're looking around them and they're saying, does anybody understand what I am going through? And unfortunately, right now, to a large degree, neither party does.
Let's be clear here. The reason any Democrat, neoliberal or centrist would come and say, maybe you shouldn't be using the word oligarchy, because at that point in time, you're starting to say that corporations are having undue influence on our economy, undue influence on your personal well-being, which is the truth. And what they would like, these centrist Democrats, to be a bit softer. They don't want to go as crazy as Donald Trump, or they don't want to simply be as evil as Donald Trump. But there's something I told my audience this morning on KPFT, and I hope people get it. The Democratic Party's poll numbers are in the dumpster, not because what they stand for, what progressives within the party stands for aren't the real things. It's because when they have been given power, they have squandered it. They have been bought by the plutocracy. People expect evil from the right. But you know what? They penalize the left for promising and still delivering much, not all, but much of the evil on the right. Example, take a graph and look at how well the middle class and the working class has done under any administration. And the one constancy is that they constantly fall behind. They fall behind worse under the Republican rule, but they continuously fall behind. As productivity increase, they fall behind. As people get rich and wealthy, the working class continuously fall behind. And that's a policy thing. That is because of the taxation system. That is because of access to success system. That is because of all these issues that create backstops for the wealthy, but no support for the working class and the middle class. When we had the 2008 implosion, who did we protect? The banking sector. Over 5 million Americans lost their homes, their wealth, everything. Did anybody protect them? No, so they got poorer. But you know who got richer? All the bankers who screwed up the system with derivatives and credit default swaps. They continued to make a lot of money. In fact, a lot of them made it even more. So that is what an oligarchy looked like. That is what we're living in. And Democrats who want to make a difference, they better get with the program and call it what it is. Oligarchy, and then destroy oligarchy. And yes, you've got to destroy oligarchy. And to destroy oligarchy, you got to know what you're destroying. Oligarchy. So let's be clear about it. Lee the Bearcat says, how is JB good? What is his stance on health issues? Universal health care, baby. Just like what I want. Medicare for all. At least that's what he says. You know, now the idea is saying one thing and doing another, because if you want to be honest about it, just think about how much we've been talking about universal healthcare for how long. Mary DeVoid says, listen to Bernie. He's been preaching it for years. Exactly, Mary DeVoid. Ashley Willies says, been living in an oligarchy. Absolutamente sí. We've been living in an oligarchy. All right, for anybody who wants to call in, I have another video, but I'm going to pause here to see if anybody wants to talk about this before I move on. Telephone number 281-823-7747. Again, that number is 281-823-7747. Lines are open, and you know we have any number of lines that you can call into. I'm still learning how to match them up together, right? But anyhow, so if anybody wants to call in, el teléfono es el 281-823-7747, 281-823-7747. I will take your call. Now, while we work on that, there's another thing that I wanted to touch on, and that is, this is 100 days of Donald Trump. And the thing about what I'm seeing on TV is everybody, they're talking about Donald Trump as if he has the mental acuity to actually say something sensible. Let me give an example to exactly what I mean. I heard somebody saying, the policies that FDR believed in was to make America a substantive country that the rest of the world needed, etc. All right, and to play an important part in the world. But that is not the type of policy we get from him. I want to explore that a bit. This number looked like a Harry number. Harry, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. This is a Harry number. I guess you didn't get a chance to read that, what I wrote in the chat there. But before your show started, I just heard on NPR that Donald Trump, they interviewed him, he said the economy is doing well and people are on the brink of making a lot of money. Now, you know, and I know he's only talking to the corporatocracy people and cutting taxes on them. That's who he's talking about when he says that. As you just stated there, he's not trying to help the middle class or working class people, as Bernie's always preaching in the videos that you play.
Brother Harry, let me just tell you who else he's talking to. Brother Harry, let me tell you who else he's talking to, and this is the part that upsets me the most. He's talking to to the section of MAGA who evidence doesn't mean anything to. In other words, if the sky is blue and Donald Trump look at them and say, hey, the sky is yellow, they will then look at you and say, Egberto, can't you see the sky is yellow? We don't have to ask Harry, we don't have to ask if the economy is now in the dumpster. We don't have to. We can just look at the numbers. We don't have to ask if the shelves are going to be empty. There are less containers coming on ships from China to the United States. So what you just said, my brother, is actually very, very accurate. So thank you, my brother, for calling in. I need to label your number so that when you call, I can see that it's Harry. But thank you for calling. I need to get back to the show. I'll talk to you tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock.
I'll keep sending stuff in the chats, and I'll call tomorrow morning. There's something I need to call about. Otherwise,
Okay,
I'll just.
I didn't see you in the chat, Harry. I'm looking at the chat. I don't see you in the chat.
I was in the chat today. I'm sitting there. What I just told you about Donald Trump is sitting there. I said it a little while ago, about 10 minutes ago.
Okay.
You'll see it when you read it.
All right. Thank you, my brother. You have a good one, and thanks for calling, Harry. Have a great day. All right, folks. Look, thank you, Harry. And anybody else want to call before we go to the last video? Number is 281-823-7747. But I was talking about Donald Trump. You have these supposedly seasoned journalists who are saying, well, what exactly is the Trump philosophy? What does he believe in? Does he believe in America as a country that should lead the world? Does he believe in it is as if they are actually treating him like a normal human being who thinks. And that's a shame, because for all the thinkers we have, to actually assume that Donald Trump is a thinker makes thinking suspect. Michael Rudden says about those cargo containers being fewer, we're already down between 30 to 45%. And that will show up. That doesn't just disappear. You're absolutely right. John A. says, my MAGA family are the same. It was frustrating to me, but you got to stick with them. I don't understand that either, she said to Jane. And let's see, Jane says MAGA is rampant around my city in North Carolina. They are literally not getting it. They think Trump is great but you know what? All Trump wants to do is to hold them long enough to get his to get his stuff passed. And after that, he doesn't care if they hate him or not. He'll live on his golf course. That's all. Ashley Willies says traditional media is a farce. Exactly. That's why there's politics done right. Jane B says, yes, B. Warren. They are like talking to a wall. We also have Bree says, Egberto, I just got this message on YouTube. What is this? It says, let me see, message deleted by Google moderator team. Really? What message did you send, Bridge? Wow. That has nothing to do with us. That would mean Google has their masters looking at our chat. Bridge, can you go ahead and put that chat in the Facebook? I want to see what it is that Google caused to be deleted. I know it's pain. I blocked all restreams. I hear you, Bridge. But Bridge, I want to see what that message is. I want to kind of get a feel as to what their AI is doing. That's a shame. All right, let's see what else we got here before I go. All right, I tell you what, guys, I'm going to play that bill now, and then, that last video, and then we'll continue the program afterwards. Here is a very important one with Mr. Pritzker. Let's go. We have been complaining for some time that Democrats are not fighting, that Democrats don't come out and let people understand that they're fighting for them. We take a look at what Chuck Schumer did on Sunday. When asked, do you think the Democratic Party is in trouble? Do you think the Democratic Party has the pulse? I'm paraphrasing, the pulse of the working class, etc. Are there problems within the Democratic Party? His answer was, oh, no, we are on the right foot. We are really hitting up Donald Trump and all the bad things that he's doing. And he said all these things. The one thing he didn't say is exactly what are the things that we are going to do for you. The one thing he didn't say is to come out definitively and call out these folks for who they really are. Not just Donald Trump. Donald Trump is just a symptom of a cancer, a metastasizing cancer. Well, I don't know how to grapple with this yet. But Governor Pritzker of Illinois, he came out and he gave a speech in New Hampshire, I think it was, in which he did not shy away from what most Americans want, which are values that most of us progressives support. And he did it unabashedly and fearlessly. I haven't had or seen a rank and file Democrat speak this way unabashedly. The words that he spoke could have come out of AOC's mouth. The words that he spoke could have come out of Bernie Sanders' mouth. Could have. Maybe many Democrats are probably realizing that the pulse of the nation is really where AOC and Bernie are, because we've always known that. When we do the polls, we've always known that. We just don't act on it because too much of the Democratic Party, specifically the neoliberals and many of the centrists, are bought off by the corporatocracy. So they're not much different than a moderate Republican. That really shows little interest in caring for the middle class, caring for the poor, making sure that that you look out for them first. You don't have to look out for the rich guy. They can take care of themselves. You don't have to reach out for the capitalists. They can take care of themselves. After all, they've ripped most people off already. I want you to listen to Governor Pritzker, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Fellow Democrats, for far too long, we've been guilty of listening to a bunch of do-nothing political types who would tell you that America's house is not on fire, even as the flames were licking their faces. Here's the problem with the do-nothing crowd, now telling us what to do. Well, they spent their years watching Republicans illegitimately pack the Supreme Court, take away voting rights from people of color, systematically chip away at the constitutional order. And all the while, they offered, in response, a simple defense of norms and decorum and a blind hope that one day soon, Republicans would wake up to find their better angels. Well, that got us exactly where we are today. So, folks, the reckoning is here. And now that this culture of timidity is on full display, those same do-nothing Democrats want to blame our losses on our defense of black people, of trans kids, of immigrants, instead of their own lack of guts and gumption. Voters didn't turn out for Democrats last November, not because they don't want us to fight for their values, but because they think we don't want to fight for our values. We need to knock off the rust of poll-tested language, decades of stale decorum. It's obscured our better instincts. We have to abandon the culture of incrementalism that has led us to swallow the cruelty and the callousness with barely a cowardly croak. It's time to fight everywhere and all at once. Our small businesses don't deserve to be bankrupted by unsustainable tariffs. Our retirees don't deserve to be left destitute by a Social Security Administration decimated by Elon Musk. Our citizens don't deserve to lose health care coverage because Republicans want to hand a tax cut to billionaires. Our federal workers don't deserve to have, a 19-year-old Doge bro called Big Balls destroy their careers. Autistic kids and adults who are loving contributors to our society don't deserve to be stigmatized by a weird Nepo baby who once stashed a dead bear in the backseat of his car. Our military service members don't deserve to be told by a washed-up Fox TV commentator who drank too much and committed sexual assault before being appointed Secretary of Defense that they can't serve their country simply because they're black or gay or a woman. If it sounds like I'm becoming contemptuous of Donald Trump and the people that he has elevated, it's because I am. You should be too. They're an affront to every value this country was founded upon. When we emerge from this, and we will emerge from this, our democratic agenda must be bold and our ideas fearless. We must be willing to slay sacred cows and allow the courage of our actions to match the immediacy of our words. And we must deliver on that agenda for working families and for the real people who truly make America great. Listen, I understand the tendency to give in to despair right now, but despair is an indulgence that we cannot afford in the times upon which history turns. Never before in my life have I called for mass protests, for mobilization, for disruption, but I am now. These Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. They have to understand that we will fight their cruelty with every megaphone and microphone that we have. We must castigate them on the soapbox and then punish them at the ballot box.
Now, I could not have said it any better. AOC could not have said it any better. Bernie Sanders could not have said it any better. And if we get rank and file Democrats and progressives to go out there in every single congressional district throughout every state and tell folks specifically what we are going to, first of all, this is how the plutocracy, the oligarchy are screwing you. And this is how the government paid for by these guys are screwing you. And you put us into government. And this is what we are going to do for you. Let me tell you, I don't care if you're prejudiced. I don't care if you're sexist. I don't care who you are. The mere fact that this will come to you, that you can see, folks will gravitate and do the right thing. They did it when Obama had a speech. And I'm not talking about whether Obama fulfilled the mission or not. But when he appealed directly to what people's needs, wants were, people forgot who he was. People forgot his name. And they voted for him in droves. And any Democrat who goes out there and makes the case and means it and shows why and how they mean it, it'll be a new day. And when I say it's going to be a new day, I'm not just talking about a new day for progressives. I'm talking that MAGA folks living in the hills of Ohio, in Appalachia, in West Virginia. They're going to want it too. Let me tell you something, guys. And for the old timers, you guys know what I'm going to say already. For the new timers, I'm going to tell you a quick story in probably 45 seconds to an hour and 15 seconds. Here it goes. Obama's canvassers are walking in Ohio, and they go to a person's home, and the woman is at the door, and they ask the woman, who are you voting for? And she, for some reason, thought she needed to ask her husband. She says, husband, who are we voting for? Husband turns around and say, let them know we're voting for the N guy. You guys know what the N guy was. Obama ran in. We're voting for the N guy. At that point, that's when I knew Obama was going to win. You see, there's a threshold. There's a threshold. And Kamala Harris did not hit the threshold. So Hillary Clinton did not hit the threshold. What is that threshold that I'm talking about? When that person who's attempting to get your vote gives you a message in such a manner that supersedes your prejudice, that supersedes your inner racist, that supersedes your inner sexist, that supersedes your inner homophobicness, that supersedes your xenophobic or your xenophobia, your homophobia, your sexism. There is a point, if you are a good messenger, that they forget who you are from that social, racial point of view. And they think about what you are going to do for them. And Obama had that canny ability of doing that. Hillary never reached that point that says, she reached the point, just not in an electoral college manner, that says, don't look at me as a woman. And Kamala Harris didn't reach that point where she said, don't look at me as a black woman. Had Kamala Harris done a few other things that we as progressives, as Brother Pritzker just pointed out, there's a possibility, I repeat, there's a possibility that she could have hit that threshold. There is a possibility that she could have hit that threshold. Egberto, Hillary won the popular vote in 2016. It wasn't enough. Kamala Harris would have won the popular vote too, if not for Republicans doing their usual Jim Crow voter repression and purging 4.77 million votes. Yeah, I mean, that was expressed by Greg Pallas, who I brought onto the program, that did that entire research. Yeah, that's an important point that you just brought. Bridge FCP says, Paul, Germany arrested 2 Russians. They had his phone number in their contact. Para ver, what else have we got here that needs to be read? What's up with Elon Musk? Republicans are planning today to add another $150 billion to the defense budget of over $1 trillion. It's ridiculous, right? It's just another giveaway to the wealthy. That is exactly. Anytime you hear them talk about defense budget, that's what we're talking about. All right, folks, I don't have any more videos. There we go. Ray Bracken's on. I was just about to open the phones up. All right, Ray Brackens, how you doing, my dear brother?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. You know, I love when you bring up the point that, you know, when people say that, you know, like Bernie said, you should run as an independent. See, Bernie understands, you know, where he is, for instance, in Vermont, that, you know, being an independent doesn't necessarily divorce him from his values because he's part of different groups out there that are progressive. And what a lot of people, like, for instance, with Obama, a lot of people, you know, soured on Obama as a politician because he ran on much more progressive values than he actually governed on. And that's the thing. It's not that people don't like progressives when they run on their values and they seem authentic, because we've seen what happens when Bernie Sanders ran. Hell, Lena Hidalgo, a local progressive, ran on her values, and she won twice.
Yes.
So it's not about you know, trying to say what needs to be said. Look, when I know the saying goes, and I think you had this brother on that he was doing an interview with you, and I wanted to give you kudos for that interview because he hit the nail on the head when it came to something. When people have two choices between Republican and light and Republican, they're gonna pick Republican every time. So you might as well go all the way, and they need to stop acting like. See, I know about history. What happened in the 80s when Reagan won a landslide, that shouldn't have been. I don't know if the other guy was a super progressive, but apparently the lesson they took from that schlubbing was basically that we need to run more like Reagan and be more neoliberal. But in actuality, you know, it was like, no, you need to do stuff for the working class and people that make less than $50,000 a year. That's what you really need. You need to prioritize people.
Ray,
about if they're going to put gas in the car or buy groceries. And I'm done. Thank you.
Ray, let me no. There's no done there, my brother. You have the floor. But let me just say this. I want to add what you had to say, and that is, it's so important. You have to go to where the people are. I was speaking to a friend of mine today who's arranging a very important town hall here in Kingwood, Texas. Cindy Hedrickson, I'll be working with her to arrange a town hall out here. She's doing a marvelous job. And the one thing that I kept getting over to her is that we have to go where the people are. And I am going where MAGA is as well. I know some people can't do it. Maybe you can't do it, Ray, and that's okay. That is okay. But those of us who can must. Those of us who can must. It's about bringing the whole thing together. Mary DeVoy says, Bernie has always remained the same. He never flip-flops. He's always championed the working class. Exactly. Hey, we also have in the Substack Walter Rain. Walter, I really enjoyed that live that you did today. That was a wonderful live that you did. Very informative. We have to do a live together sometime, Walter, because I think I like where your mind is. I really like where your mind is. And for those other folks that we have on Substack, and bear with me a second, Ray, I want to point out something. Substack over the last several months have been all these the good reporters, good journalists, laid off journalists from the mainstream media have all joined Substack. Okay. And they are eating up the oxygen. There's one that came on, and in the first day, they got 10,000 paid subscribers. Look, I've got 20-something thousand subscribers, but only a fraction, less than, probably a couple of percent, if that much, are paid. Okay? And what we're trying to do is get to about 10% paid. We would love 10% paid would get us where we need to go. But here we get some reporters that read the news. Good people, good reporters, good journalists, and they get immediately 10,000 paid subscribers. It drives a lot of us old Substackers crazy because I asked everybody, those of you who are on Substack right now as well, take a look at the quality of the work of the average Substacker. Take a look at the work of brother Walter Ryan. Okay, he's on the chat right now. Take a look at his work. Read it. See where the heart is. And then take a look at what journalists from the mainstream media do. They're good journalists, but they read the news. That's what they do. And see if you do not believe that those of us who are doing real yeoman basic work with the grassroots shouldn't be supported, to put it bluntly, likely on a higher level. I know it sounds self-serving when I do this, but we've got to be honest. Anyway, whoa, kind of noisy, Ray. Ray, close her out for me. Close her out. What? Sorry, close her out for me. Do you have anything else to say?
Yeah, well, basically what she said. Yeah, well, we need to just make sure that, the people that we are communicating to know that the people that we're supporting are for everybody's value.
Exactly. Well, look, Ray,
else to say on that.
I got to go, Ray, because we got to close this baby out. Thank you, my brother. All right, folks, look, I want to thank everybody for being here. We still have about 2 more minutes that I can take other calls. So if anybody wants to call within the next 2 minutes, I can take that call. In the interim, I just want to say, Michael says, Democrats abandoning incrementalism is absolutely necessary at a time when people are living paycheck to paycheck with insufficient health care. I think that is a very important statement, and a planet that's on fire. I better read that one, or Michael would say, why the hell did you miss the one on the environment, Egberto? I got it. Elissa Petrovic says, Egberto, you have nailed it about the new Substack reporters. They are great people, but they are going to put themselves completely out of paid subscribers. It becomes an echo chamber. Let me tell you what's happening. I want you guys to look, every single one of those journalists that came over to Substack after being laid off, I made an offer to them. Let me get to Mike Cisak. Go ahead, Mike Cisak, real quick.
Hey, I don't know if I missed this. Is probably at the very first beginning. Did you mention something about the Canadian elections last night?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, the Liberals won. Yes, go ahead.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I just figured, because we have at least one person that I know that talks in here, Stiegel or wherever. Anyway, I'm hoping he does move to Canada. That he enjoys the liberal government. The government that bankrupt people and makes them poor and puts them in jail and locks up their stuff and takes away their bank accounts and
all right. Let me just stop you right there. We're not going to have that CSEC because, again, if you take a look at the bankruptcies in Canada based on healthcare and all of that, nowhere close to what's here in the United States. Canadians are much happier than Americans. Punto y final, no doubt about it. Look at the indices that determine happiness. That's not true either. Again, if you have one person that makes $10,000 and 10 people that make $1,000, the average looks good. But in reality, that's not what you had. But I got to go because I got to close this baby up. CSAC called earlier, but love you, brother. Got to go. All right, folks, look, I got to do my ask right now. I want to ask all of you that are listening to the program right now to please support the program. And how can you support the program? If you go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, there's a link. That link, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, gives you the option to become paid subscribers of our newsletter. And I've placed that in the chat. Again, that is politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. If you are on the Substack app, you can subscribe to our Substack as well. Just go to the link if you want to go to the link, or if you want to go ahead and support us however way you can. Remember, we cannot do this without your support. That is how independent media works. Whereas you are just about ordered to watch ads on the other channels. Here, if you like what you're seeing, if you like what you're hearing, you can say, I want to support these guys that are working hard. I put in 16 hours a day to 7 days a week. We get all these videos. We give it context. We make sure and get the job done. I've also put it inside of the Substack link, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. It's in there as well. Mary DeVoid says, my son lived there. It's far more sustainable. Look, I mean, it's not up for debate, Sister Mary. The truth of the matter is everybody knows if you live in European countries, etc., I mean, the average European is not wealthy, but they don't sit down and worry about, I can't go to the doctor or I can't buy my medicine. They can't do that. I'm not taking any more calls right now, my folks. I'm not taking any more calls right now. But yeah, so please support the program by going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Alternatively, if you want to find any other way of supporting the call, you can support us by becoming a Patreon. Our Patreon is at politicsdoneright.com/Patreon. Patreon is Patreon. But again, what we are really trying to do is build up our newsletter paid subscriber base, and that you can get by going to politicsdoneright.com, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. All right, I got to get out of here. Let's see. Patrick Magnus says, Americans want to buy junk because they think it makes them happy. Very true. Very, very true. All right, folks, we're getting out of here. My name, first of all, love you all. You can write me directly at info@politicsdoneright.com, info@politicsdoneright.com. Okay. Also, you can subscribe to the newsletter at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, or you can, again, reach me in whatever other channel you want. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.